Quotes from Witchcraft Medicine, Healing Arts, Shamanic Practices and Forbidden Plants by Claudia Müller, Ebeling, Christian Rätsch and Wolf-Dieter Stoll. Witchcraft medicine is the medicine of the earth. It is the oldest medicine of humankind, the healing art still used by the last remaining primitive peoples. Witchcraft medicine is primordial wisdom, primordial memory, and true religio. It is the legacy of our Stone Age ancestors, which has been passed down in a continually shifting form through the Neolithic agriculture period, through the Bronze Age, and through the Iron Age, into the era of Christian Middle Ages and their belief in miracles. The Inquisition, however, did its best to destroy this ancient wisdom, but neither the threat of torture nor that of being burned at the stake, neither the axe of the so-called rational enlightenment, nor the reductionist straitjacket of a soulless positivistic science has been able to permanently damage nature's medicine. For this medicine not only lives on in decaying, dusty traditions, but is nourished by the clear spring of wisdom, by the immediate inspiration of the devas, and by the inspiration of the spirits of the plants, animals, stones, stars, and elements as well. Witchcraft medicine is based on the understanding of the healing powers of our inner and outer natures. Witchcraft medicine is more than a factual knowledge of medicinal herbs, poisonous plants, psychedelic compounds, etc. It is the ability to converse with the animal and plant spirits and to forge friendships with them, an ability that has been suppressed in most people. It is the ability to achieve the ecstasy that makes communion with these beings possible. This healing art understands the magical bullets and destructive memories that bore deeply into our physical and spiritual bodies, in order to heal the wounds caused by such etheric astral entities and negative occult energies. The practitioners of witchcraft medicine, the shamans, call on their allies, the plants, the stones, the animals, the water, the fire, the earth. These also have a deep dimension as spirit beings, angels and devas. You can speak with them. They can respond. Witchcraft medicine understands the vitality of existence and knows about the souls and the spirits of all creation. Witchcraft medicine is magical, and for this reason, it causes discomfort to those whose souls are dead and frightens those whose spiritual eyes are blind. It scares them because it is a reflection of their powerlessness. Only when humans radiate happiness and health can nature be happy and healthy. This is why Mother Gaia has powerful herbs and roots ready at hand.
Dass jeder Stamm, jedes Volk, jede Ethnie hat ihre Heilkunde und die ist effektiv. Es gibt eigentlich keine Heilkunde, die irgendwie besser ist als eine andere. genauso wenig wie es eine Sprache gibt, die besser ist als eine andere. Es ist die Heilkunde entsteht aus Liebe und Fürsorge mit denen, die den Hof teilen, mit Mensch und Vieh. Es wird getragen über Generationen, das Wissen, und es beruht, und das ist sehr wichtig, auf die lokale, auf die örtliche Kräuter und Heilmittel, die da sind. Es beruht auf Feuer, Wärme, Hitze und auf Wasser und bei uns auf Kräutertees. Und diejenigen, die zuständig waren immer für das Heilen, das waren nicht gelehrte Ärzte, die immer nachschlagen müssen. Das sehen wir ja heute. Geht man zum Arzt und der denkt, er sagt, ja. Und dann, was könnte denn das sein? Und dann gibt die Pharmaindustrie, die fast inzwischen 80.000 Präparate zur Verfügung hat, die richtige Indikation. Dieses Heilwissen, das war das lokale Heilwissen beruhte nicht auf schriftliche Überlieferung, sondern beruhte auf Jahrtausende von Überlieferung und Erfahrung. Und die Träger von dieser Heilkunde waren vor allem diejenigen, die immer sich kümmerten um die Kranken Kleinen, um die Alten, und das waren die Frauen. Und das war auch getragen meistens von den alten Frauen. Das waren diejenigen, die lange Erfahrung hatten. Und die brauchten nicht gelehrt zu sein. Und das gab es in dieser Kultur, auch in unserer Kultur gab es das. Und das war eine sehr, sehr effektive Heilkunde. Nun, diese Heilkunde beruhte auf ganz andere Voraussetzungen, als wie wir es heute gewohnt sind. Für sie war Krankheit so etwas wie ein schlechter Zauber, eine schlechter Zauber, eine Einbildung im wahrsten Sinne des Wortes. Und dieser Zauber musste gelöst werden. Und dieser Zauber wurde gelöst durch Spruch und durch Ritual. Und dann wurde das Heilen unterstützt durch die heilenden Pflanzen. Die Heilkunde ist immer kulturspezifisch. Das heißt, es gibt keine universale Heilkunde. Es ist die Heilkunde, wie auch die Sprache und die Kultur, entstammt der lokalen Natur, der Umwelt, und so auch die Heilkunde. Und bei uns hier in Europa, ich will unterscheiden zwischen der Heilkunde der Gelehrten und der Heilkunde des einfachen Volkes. In der Ethnologie da spricht man von der Big oder Great Tradition und der Little Tradition. Great Tradition sind die führenden Schichten in der Kultur. Das sind die Priester, die Machthaber, die Herrscher, die Könige und so weiter, die Kultur bestimmen. Und die haben ein bisschen eine andere Kultur als wie das einfache Volk. Mal die Inspirationen, die heilenden Inspirationen kommen aus der Umwelt, aus der Natur, habe ich gesagt. Und unsere Umwelt und Natur war immer der Wald. Also in den Alpen und nördlich der Alpen war Wald war Wald das Prägende. Und das heißt nicht nur der Wald, sondern auch die Waldpflanzen. Und das gilt nicht nur für die Kelten, wo die führende Schicht, die hat man sogar die Waldweisen genannt, die Druiden. Drew heißt eigentlich Eiche oder Baum. Das ist verwandt mit Dr, ist verwandt mit der Holunder. Das ist der Baum der Holle oder der hohle Baum oder der Wacholder. Der heißt Baum. Oder das Sanskrit ist ja auch verwandt mit unserer Sprache. Daru heißt Holz. Und der Druid ist der Waldweise. Aber nicht nur da, auch bei den Germanen, die weiter im Norden lebten, das ist auch ein Waldvolk. Und die Slawen im Osten sind Waldvölker und die Balten im Nordosten. Balten, wisst ihr, was Balten sind? Die Letten, Litauer und die Preußen, die Urpreußen sind die Balten. Die leben in Wald und einer Waldkultur. Im Mittelmeerraum gab es auch Wälder, aber das waren leichte Wälder und die wurden sehr früh im Neolithikum schon abgeholzt, zum Teil um Ackerland zu machen und Weinberge und Schiffe zu bauen und zum Heizen und zum Zimmern, dass zur Zeit der Römer sehr wenig Wald übrig war und dass der Wald nördlich der Alpen, der galt als ein, wie Tacitus sagt, ein schrecklicher, sumpfiges Waldgebiet, ein furchtbarer Ort. Und für die Druiden war der Wald heilig. Die Germanen, Kelten und auch die Slawen hatten bis zum Kontakt später mit dem Christentum, hatten keine Tempel. Tacitus, der römische Ethnologe, kann man sagen, sagte, sie verweigern sich, ihre Götter einzusperren oder ihnen menschliche Gestalt zu geben. Also keine Statuen, keine Tempel. Der Wald selber war der Tempel. Der Wald selber war der Tempel. Und die Bäume, durch die Bäume kam die Stimme der Götter. Aus dem Wald kamen die heilenden Botschaften. Als die Römer kamen, war ihnen der Wald eigentlich unheimlich. In Gallien, da war eine uralte, das ist überliefert, uralte Eiche und Caesar befahl, diese Eiche abzuhauen, denn die Eiche war ja überall der heilige Weltenbaum. Die römischen Soldaten, die hatten so eine Angst, da hat Caesar, übrigens daher haben wir das Wort Kaiser, hat dann selbst die Hand angelegt und den Baum gefällt. War so eine Art Sache. Als die Christen kamen, eines der ersten Dinge, die die christlichen Missionare machten, war ja natürlich die heiligen Bäume fällen. Und was die Mönche machten, war einfach sie versuchten, die Wildnis in der Seele der Menschen und draußen zu man hat versucht, das Waldbewusstsein ein bisschen wegzudrängen. Also in der Kirche am Anfang versuchte man, die Menschen abzubringen von dieser Naturbezogenheit, denn in der Natur fanden sie die Spiritualität und die Götter. Und das ging nicht, denn man wollte sie auf eine neue Idee bringen. Man wollte sie auf einen neuen Zauber bringen, ein neues Weltbild, einen neuen Spell. Denn diese Völker glaubten, dass das Bewusstsein, auch Gesundheit und Krankheit, eigentlich ein Zauber ist. Und dieser Zauber im Altgermanischen heißt Spellam, oder es ist noch im Englischen Spell und im Deutschen Spiel. Und das ist so, dass wenn ein Spielmann kommt und an einen Hof und spielt ein Fiedel und singt, ein Barde, dann kann er die Menschen bewegen und sie träumen mit und sie schluchzen oder sie fangen an zu weinen, weil das Lied so wunderbar ist, oder sie werden in den Schlaf gesungen oder zum Tanzen gebracht. Und so dachten sie, dass ein Weltbild überhaupt wie ein Zauber ist und ein negativer Zauber, ein schwarzer Zauber, ein böser Zauber kann Krankheit und Siechtum bringen. Übrigens ist das Wort Gospel das englische Wort für Evangelium und das geht zurück auf good spell, ein guter Zauber. Und da haben die Missionare gesagt, wir bringen einen neuen guten Zauber.
Totalitarian agriculture marks a truly profound, deep change in both human consciousness and our way of life. Hunter-gatherers lived as just one of the species in a community of species. They did not see themselves as in any way special or above other species. They knew and understood that they were part of an interconnected web of life. They did not see themselves as owning the land, but as being a part of the land, of belonging to the land. Although they hunted and gathered, this was done with respect for the other species they shared the land with, and with gratitude. All other species were honored, whether animal or plant. Even the stones, the hills, the rivers and streams, and the land itself was honored as being the body of Mother Earth. Everything was alive. Everything was sacred. Everything was spirit. In hunter-gatherer times, other species will have been in competition with us humans for resources. However, at no time did our hunter-gatherer ancestors set out to deliberately wipe out a competitor species. They never went out one day to systematically wipe out all the wolves or the lions or the bears where they lived. Quite the opposite. The other species were treated with great respect and reverence, and often referred to as brothers and sisters. In many cases, the other species were referred to as the peoples, the animal people, the plant people, and even the stone people, all kin to us, the human people. The idea of deliberately waging a totalitarian war on another species would have been simply inconceivable. It would have been crossing a line, and not in accordance with great spirit. We know this to be true as we have many records of the horrified reactions of hunter-gatherer peoples when they witnessed us, so-called civilized people, crossing that line and waging totalitarian war on other species and engaging in totalitarian agriculture. In crossing that line, in adopting totalitarian agriculture, we moved from being a part of the land to seeing ourselves as owning the land. We began to see ourselves as being special and above all other species. For, at its heart, totalitarian agriculture is saying, we now own this land. We now decide what lives on it and what dies. You goats, you can live on this land as we now own you and want to use you as we wish. But all you other species who compete with the goats or who eat them, you now die. Wheat you can grow on this land, but all you other plants, we will now kill you, for this is our land. To justify this, we invented a God, the only one and true God, who rather being a God of nature now says, let us make mankind rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. Genesis 1:26. That is what totalitarian agriculture is about, growing only the things that we want, using the land as we wish, and waging war on anything that gets in our way, and telling ourselves that it is somehow our divine right to do so. since we turned our back on our hunter-gatherer, animist way of life. In fact, the very reason that most people are so oblivious to this is because of our turning our back on animism. For animism is not just a way of life, it is a deep embodied soulful connection with the more than human world. Our adoption of totalitarian agriculture marked a truly profound rupture in terms of our relationship with Mother Earth and the other peoples. In turning to totalitarian agriculture, we began a process of breaking that soulful connection, that sacred connection. We began to see the earth and the plants and animals around us simply as things that we can treat however we want. Far from seeing all things as alive and sacred, we now began to see all things as just commodities to be used. Given that we take agriculture for granted and see it as normal, it can be hard for us modern humans to really understand what a truly massive shift totalitarian agriculture was in terms of our relationship with the other peoples and with the earth herself. So remember this, we have no record ever, anywhere in the world, of any hunter-gatherer tribe destroying whole ecosystems. Modern humans like to think of themselves as better than the other animals, as having risen above our animal nature. But when you look at these defining themes of animal, the opposite is true. Far from having transcended animal, we are the very definition of animal, the epitome of it. In fact, in some ways, you could say that we are the qualities of animal taken to an extreme. Our fellow animals are seen as less conscious than us, and so do not merit the same rights as us. We name our species Homo sapiens, which means wise man, the pinnacle of the evolution of the hominid genus. In fact, we even name modern-day humans Homo sapiens sapiens, wise men, which is ridiculous. To elevate our subspecies that emerged somewhere between 50,000 and 30,000 BC, above our more primitive human ancestors. We deem ourselves above our earlier human ancestors, and above the rest of life. We talk of animal nature as being lower. To say that someone is a bit of an animal or acting like an animal is an insult. Sky religions tell us that animals are further from God than us, that God made us in His own image, and that if we are to get close to God, then we must transcend our animal nature and instincts and the earth itself. Wow, this is so misguided. Any knowledge about how to know the lower world, shamanic journey, power plants, how to use the drum and the rattle, ecstatic dancing, and so on, is rooted out and destroyed. Anyone who has this knowledge is persecuted and killed with such a ruthlessness and dedication of purpose that, to all intents and purposes, we end up effectively eradicating shamanism in the West, leaving us with a broken lineage that we are only just now beginning to try and repair. This notion that up is good and down is bad is in many ways a spell, a curse even. To free ourselves from it, we need to break its spell. Our recovery can begin with being aware of it and realizing that it is simply not true. From a shamanic point of view, and in fact, from the perspective of any balanced and grounded spiritual practice, the notion that up is good and down is bad is sheer and utter nonsense. It is a deranged value judgment that is symptomatic of our screwed up relationship with the earth. It is a powerful spell, which is wetiko, a powerful thought form that has taken on a life of its own and infected people and spread throughout human society and flowed down over 1,000 generations. It is ancient and deeply rooted in our culture. It is not only a symptom of our broken relationship with nature, but something that creates and perpetrates that rift. As humans, the language we use molds and shapes the way in which we perceive and relate to the world around us, as does the system of assumptions, beliefs, and values that we are steeped in from childhood. Assumptions, beliefs, and values that are then reinforced by religions and other social institutions. Most people do not question the idea of human supremacy, but take it unquestionably as fact, whereas actually it is a myth that we live by, and one that we need to change. In terms of learning shamanism, you have to ditch the myth of human superiority. Shamanism is an entirely non-hierarchical, spiritual way of looking at the world. It is entirely free of the idea that up is good and down is bad. In shamanism, the upper world is not a better place than the lower world. God is not superior to goddess. Humans are not superior to animals. Animals are not superior to plants and stones. Everything is equal and deserving of equal respect, not just when journeying, but in day-to-day life. Being human, we are still very much animal, and so all the themes of animal that apply to us: predator, prey, dominant, dominated, competition, cooperation, aggressive, affectionate, stressed, caring and bonding, mischievous and playful, deceitful, fast-paced, communicative, emotional, colorful, noisy, restless, curious, innovative, inventive, adaptable, and so on. In fact, some animal characteristics especially apply to us. Again, I will underline words here from the animal qualities to highlight them. Looking at our linguistic, technological, scientific and artistic achievements, we are undoubtedly the most innovative, adaptable and inventive species on the planet. Whether we have put these talents and abilities to good use is another matter. We may be the most animal of animals, yet hunter-gatherers knew we were not only animal, but something else too. These key qualities are being the most self-aware of the peoples, and so the least collectively aware, i.e., the most separate of the peoples. The ability to be something other than our true authentic soul. The ability to think abstract thoughts and imagine being something else. Understanding these things and their consequences can help us to understand the true nature of human, because they understood the extent to which, as humans, we can be strangers to our true authentic soul. All hunter-gatherers' cultures had initiation ceremonies performed around the time of adolescence. These ceremonies were designed to shock the initiate out of childhood thinking and help them step up to become a true adult. In these animist cultures, being an adult meant far more than just taking on middle world adult responsibilities in the tribe. Being an adult, rather than just an adult, meant being connected to your true soul. It meant knowing your true human nature. It meant stepping up to take your place on the earth as an interconnected being, a part of the web of life and a member of the great tribe of all the peoples. It was only once you had done this that the tribe considered you to be a fully human being. These days, we no longer perform these initiation ceremonies. Of course, the result is that true adults are extremely rare in our society. For as we shall see, the truth is that in our culture, most people never really grow up to become truly adult. Instead, we live in a society not of adults but a society of children in adult-sized bodies. A culture made up of people who do not know their true, authentic nature, but who are lost instead in human middle world concerns. People who never step up to take their true place in the more than human world, and so people who never take on the responsibilities that go with that. One of the key things the initiation ceremonies are about is to teach you what it is to be human. What my guides were showing me was that humans are shapeshifters. It is hard to convey the impact this realization had on me in the journey. As soon as I realized it, from the bottom of my soul, I knew it to be true. It felt like I had finally come home. It was as if previously I had been a lost jigsaw piece, alone and isolated, a puzzle that did not make sense. And then I was placed in my rightful place, in the rest of the picture. In being placed where I belonged, I made sense. I was still an individual, but now part of a whole. Being part of this bigger picture made sense to me. It was not that everything suddenly fitted into place and made sense, but that I fitted into place. Everything else already made sense. Everything was already in its rightful place and helped make up the bigger picture. It was me who had been missing. Once I took my place, my rightful place, I finally understood, really groped, what animists mean when they say that to understand what it is to be human, you have to understand our place in the bigger picture. Wolf-Dieter Stohrl. People tend to divide the world into two parts. On the one hand, nature, the wilderness, a so-called bad place, and on the other side, civilization, or rather, domestication. The orderly world, the so-called good. You see, it's so upside down, completely reversed. I chose wild, untamed nature, and from then on I spent every free minute in the forest, in the great outdoors. There was an entire universe to discover. Wolf-Dieter Stohrl, born October 1, 1942. Same year as my mother. In Saxony, Germany. He's a cultural anthropologist and ethnobotanist. At the age of 11, he emigrated to America, Ohio, with his parents, where he spent most of his free time in the forest and wilderness. When he was 19, he enrolled as a botany student at Ohio State University, but bored with the dry laboratory work, he soon switched to anthropology. After graduation, he became an assistant, then full-time lecturer in sociology and anthropology at Kent State University, Ohio. In 1974, he received his doctorate in ethnology magna cum laude as a Fulbright Scholar from Bern, Switzerland. So you see the synchronicity here. I was born in 1974 in Bern, Switzerland.
The symbolic script of our universe is truly a revelation that is being mutually dreamed up by all of us, in and as the present moment. Crystallizing and emerging out of this interplay between us and the universe arises a symbol, and the symbol is in the form of the universe. This symbol is like a bridge, coming in the form of the very events in our world that precipitate out of this interplay. One of the words for enlightenment in Tibetan Buddhism is Mahamudra, which, in addition to translating as the Great Attitude, also translates as the Great Symbol. The universe is itself a primordial revelation that is speaking in the language of symbols, a living symbolic scripture, the literal and symbolic book of life. The whole of creation is a cosmic text, thirsting for interpretation, a living embodiment of the Word, manifesting the various names of God. Realizing that all things speak inspires us to develop a hermeneutics reflecting back our realization that the sacred word is becoming materialized. Just as God's word spoke the world into existence according to the book of Genesis, now it is through the word that the cosmos can be released from the curse of literal matter, quantitative space, and historical linear time. If the world is not seen as the symbol of itself that it is, like prose that is written in stone, we demythologize the sacred dimension of the world, and the world then solidifies as mute, immutable, faceless, forever collapsing into seemingly concretized objectivity. Hermeneutics, the practice of interpreting texts, has as its task the transfiguration of the world by means of unveiling the word in all things. The word, hermeneutics, is related to and derived from the Greek god Hermes, also known as Mercury, who is a relative of Wetiko. Symbolically speaking, Hermes, Mercury, is the god of interpretation and language, among many other things. This is to say that Wetiko is a phenomenon that is related to how we language and interpret our experience. Transmuting the world into symbols, by definition, transcends the distinction between inner and outer, between the subject and object, between dreaming and waking, between spirit and matter, and between self and other. By interiorizing the cosmos, we have found our true home as well as ourselves. Because of the extremely therapeutic and healing benefit of symbolic awareness, Jung spent his entire life fighting for the reactivation of symbolic thinking. If we view events in our world materialistically, literally, we will be flesh. But if we think symbolically, it is as if we become spirit. Psychologically speaking, to view our world symbolically canalizes the libido into a spiritual form. Symbols are different from signs, which have a literal and unambiguous meaning that can be expressed in words. For example, one way, do not enter. Symbols, on the other hand, are an expression of and point to something beyond themselves, both reflecting and effecting the very mystery of which they are an emanation. Symbols are neither abstract nor concrete, neither rational nor irrational, neither real nor unreal, but always both.